Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Today I have another 90s set review and set ranking. Today is kind of a part two because my last set ranking was the 1997 Stadium Club Patent Leather. This card right here, this really cool die cut insert from Stadium Club from 1997. So what I have today is a very similar set, similar, let's say, premise, similar design, but way different execution and rarity. This is the 1998 Ultra Prime Leather set. It's an 18 card set, again from 1998, and it was 1 in 144 packs from Series 1, which is, I believe, 1 in every 6 boxes, something like that. So it was a pretty rare, or 1 every 8 boxes, something like that. But it was, 6 boxes, something like that. It was a pretty rare insert. So 244 or 144 and then 288 was the two rarest insert sets. So the diamond was the diamond producers. The diamond cards were the 288. So there was two different, in Series 1 and Series 2, they both had it was like Diamond Producers and Diamond Immortals or something like that in 98. While the second hardest set to get in Series 1 was the Prime Leather. And so you had the Stadium Club's Patent Leather, then you get the Prime Leather. So let's look at the two cards side by side. And then we'll go through the ranking. So this is the 98 set from Ultra. You can see it's got some gold foil here. It's got stamping where the baseball seams are. You've got stamping here. You got gold. And then you got a faux leather finish. And then you got some flavored text on the back. And this is a Griffey. So it's a pretty rare insert for that time period. And in fact, the Stadium Club product was 1 in every 36 packs. So it was like a box. I think it was a 24 pack box. It was like 1.5 boxes. So much easier to get. But when you look at them side by side, I think it's very clear that the Stadium Club card has a much better design. And it was a year earlier. So Ultra had looked at this design and said, no die cuts for us. Nothing to make the set, that much cooler. No picture of a glove, just kind of, just a very basic set. This is a really basic looking card for 98. Remember, 98 got wacky. Okay. There was a lot of cool insert sets. You had a lot of, you got credentials have been out. You've got your first year of PMGs. I mean, a lot of stuff is happening. You've got game use cards, autographs. The world is getting crazy in the insert world for baseball. And this card for 98, for being a 1 in 144, to me, the design is not as good as a 97 set, but it's much rarer. And it's a bigger set. This is only 13 card set. This is an 18 card set. So we'll go through the players. And so we start here with Griffey. Then we go to Andrew Jones. So those two cards make sense. Good leather, good defensive players. Next up is A-Rod. Again, makes sense. But here's where we go off the rails. Frank Thomas. So, I believe Frank Thomas was in this set because he's not a great fielder. In fact, he played DH for a lot of his career. And he's a negative WAR, a D-WAR player. So should he be in a Prime Leather set? No. Is it cool that he's in the set from a collectability standpoint? Yes. It makes the set have better players, but he's not a Prime Leather candidate. Cal Ripken definitely was. He definitely, I think he ended with a positive D-WAR. And for some years there, he was a very good defensive player. Same way for Jeter. He definitely belongs in the set. But you just saw, we've got Ripken, we got Jeter, we got Thomas. Here's Chipper Jones, again, a good defensive player. So again, a lot of good players. Greg Maddux. So this, Right now, it's only the Thomas that kind of doesn't make sense. You got Mike Piazza. This is kind of where it goes off the rails, okay, a little bit, because I'm just going to spoil it for you. There is no Ivan Rodriguez, who was by far the best defensive catcher at the time. So again, this was just kind of an excuse to get a Mike Piazza, who was a very hot player. But then even worse, you got Albert Bell, who again was not a good defensive player. But I will give them credit for the amazing uniforms that we've got going on here. I love these uniforms. I wish they'd bring these uniforms back. These, I don't even remember them wearing these. Oh my gosh. Like, that's a rocking uniform. And the fact that Albert Bell is wearing his pants up, that's just like a crazy picture. So even though Albert Bell shouldn't be in a prime leather set, he looks awesome on this card. That's probably the best photo I've ever seen of him. Then we've got Darren Erstad, who again was, I think, a negative career D-War player. Juan Gonzalez, negative D-War player for his career. Back to Jeff Bagwell, who was a good defender. Tony Gwynn, who basically half his career, he was a good defender. So, I mean, you can make some case. Alomar, he definitely was a good defender. Very positive D-War. Barry Bonds was a great defender for a lot of his career. I think he ended up kind of like all players, their D-War is the first thing that goes if you look at their career. But he definitely was a good player for a lot of years. Obviously, Kenny Lofton was a lot of a defensive player. Makes sense. And Jose Cruz Jr., I think they just threw him in because, again, back in the day, you had to have a young guy in a set just to have, collectors happy that they're collecting like a near rookie. But again, this wasn't a rookie year card, but it was just, a young player. So if you look at it from a total, just want to look at it from a total player, try to spread them out here, so we don't get glare. Oh man, it's hard not to get glare. If you look at it from just a total player perspective, it definitely has a lot of good Hall of Famers. In fact, based on my chart here, 10 of the 18 cards in the set are Hall of Famers. So if you take it from that perspective, it's over 50% of the set is Hall of Famers. And then the non-Hall of Famers are players like A-Rod and Barry Bonds. So you can just make a case right there. You've got 12 pretty much Hall of Famers right there. So, if you go from that perspective, you definitely have a lot of really good players. So player selection wise, I gave it a 9. Again, 12 out of the 18 cards, are either Hall of Famers or highly collectible good players. Set rarity, again, 1 of 144. 1 of 6 boxes, you get a insert, so that's pretty tough. It's a 2 per case type of hit. So I gave it an 8. And the only reason I gave it an 8, because again, there's already an insert in this product that's rare. So that would be a 9. And I only give 10s out for things that are super duper rare. Like, you have to open up like more than a case to get it. That would be a 10. And those are few and far between. But there are some out there. So I just want to make sure people understand that there are case hits out there in the 90s that were more than one a case. You had to open more in a case to just get an insert. Not a parallel, an insert. Now, set design is where this product really falls apart. So again, a 9 and an 8. Very strong start from a grade perspective, but the design itself, and if you feel the card, compared it to the Stadium Club card, even the faux leather feels a lot cheaper on the Ultra product than the top Stadium Club product. So, just a little bit of embossing and a little bit of foil on a card from 1998 just doesn't cut it for me from a design perspective. This is, I won't say lazy, but definitely for a high or a very short printed insert set, this could have had a lot more design. And I think the Diamond Immortals is a good example of a supremely die cut looking cool card. that was a tier above it. So they knew that, they had design, elements built into some of these insert sets that made them look amazing. This one, they just kind of rest on the fact it kind of had a leatherish, feel to it. And that just wasn't enough for me, even in 98, to carry the weight of a set that was so hard to get. Then value. So I gave it a 5 for set design. I think it's mediocre at best. And then set value, I gave it a 5 as well, because a raw Griffey goes for about $30 to $35. You can get the full set anywhere between $70 to $180. That's what 2 have sold for. I think 70 is probably a more realistic price. I saw Greg Maddox sell for, $5. I've seen a lot of singles go in that $3 to $5 range. So there's not a huge demand for this set, even though it's pretty rare. I gave it no bonus points. Because to me, it didn't deserve, it didn't have any rarity factor that would trump, the rarity factor of the set doesn't trump the kind of bad design, and just overall, just kind of blandness of the set. Now, it has a lot of good Hall of Famers. It has a lot of good players. So that really is the only thing that really carries a set. So as a player collector, they're somewhat hard to get, but if you look on eBay, you can almost get every player in the set for a pretty reasonable price point. So even that doesn't really make it, sway the grade too much. So overall, when you look at this full set here, you got a 9, an 8, a 5, a 5, a 0. Overall score of a 27, converted to a 100-point scale, that's 67.5. That's exactly the same score I gave this set here. So this is a good example of like 2 sets that are scored exactly the same, that went about it very differently. This set, even though it was pretty easy to get, not rare, but it is not a big set, only 13 cards, but it made up for it by cool design, good player selection. Whereas this set was very rare and hard to get for the time. It had a great selection of cards, of players, bigger set, even more Hall of Famers and near Hall of Famers. But the lack of design would really brought this down. And the fact that on the secondary market, this card's Griffey goes higher than this card, even though it's like 4 times rarer. From a pull perspective, the Ken Griffey Jr. in this set outsells this card because how cool that design is. And if you look at grading, this set is much harder to get PSA 10s on because of the intricate die cuts, and you can see on the back all the places where you can get damage for cards that are that die cut. So in the end, they rate the same. But if I had to choose one set to buy, it would be this set here. The fact this has a Frank Thomas in it doesn't make me want this card or this card more than this card. Like if I had to choose only one of the Griffies to have in this set, it would definitely be this card right here. And so that just kind of shows you like there can be very similar sets. In fact, same design thought, a set that showcases the best defenders in the game on faux leather looking cards, but one company does it so much better than the other that even though the rarity is so much different, it makes people still want to have that set more than the rare set. And I think that is something that is not as recognized in the insert world or the card collecting world as it should be, where we think rarity trumps all, especially if it's numbered, versus set design. And I think set design is starting to really win out. Just like we talked about in grading to buy the card, and inserts, you should kind of buy the most attractive card, the card that actually is special. It has cool things about it, versus a card that's rare or rarer, but is a bland, boring design. And so I think it's just interesting as I went through it. I didn't have a prejudice on trying to grade it, so I didn't grade them the same just to have this conversation. I honestly thought this set would actually grade higher just because of the player selection, but it was interesting how it came out. And I do feel like again, if I was going to just collect one set, it would be this one. So let me know what you think in the comments. What set would you rather have? And have you collected these cards in the past? Did you have any, like in your mind, does the rarity of this set make it much more desirable than this set? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.